In today's video, we get to see how some people react after learning about the consequences of their actions. Like this young teen and this millionaire. But first, let's take a look at what happens when you don't take the judge seriously. Number 10. Penelope Soto. Soto's legal proceedings began on a Sunday when officials detained her after she allegedly told them she was on Xanax bars, and 3 green baggies containing Xanax were discovered in her purse, according to an arrest document. Soto smiled and brushed her hair at the first hearing and chuckled when Rodriguez-Chaumette asked about her jewelry and other valuables to determine her bail amount.
Yes.
What do you own?
I own a lot of jewelry, alright, as well as...
The judge advised her to take it seriously and to remember that they were not in a club. Soto merely stated that she was serious and that the judge had caused her to laugh.
It's not a joke, you know. We're not in a club now. It's about it.
I'm serious about it.
You're being very. I can see you're serious, alright.
Rodriguez-Chaumette initially put her bond at $5,000 and said bye-bye, to which Soto responded adios.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Rodriguez-Chaumette brought her back and increased her bond to $10,000, stunning Soto. Soto even inquired if the judge was serious, to which he replied that he was before closing it with an adios. She was brought back and Rodriguez-Chaumette handed down the 30-day contempt punishment.
If you say that, I find you in direct criminal contempt. 30 days in the county jail.
At the next session, 18-year-old Soto was solemn as she apologized to Rodriguez-Chaumette for insulting him, with her lawyer and relatives standing beside her. Number 9. Manson Bryant.
Institution.
Manson Bryant is no stranger to the Lake County Court of Common Pleas, nor is he to Judge Eugene Lucci's courtroom. Bryant has a significant criminal history extending back to 1999 when he was a minor, according to authorities. He has been imprisoned at least 3 times for 4 distinct offenses. According to criminal records, at least 8 of Bryant's criminal cases have been assigned to Lucci in the last decade, including his most recent case for a home invasion in Painesville Township in July 2018. At the time of his arrest, he was on parole. Bryant was recently found guilty of aggravated burglary, aggravated robbery, kidnapping, and abduction by a jury. Bryant informed Judge Lucci that he had made a lot of stupid judgments in his life and that he respects both the judge and the verdict. But that respect was fleeting. Bryant exploded into a profanity-laced outburst after the judge sentenced him to 22 years in jail.
Have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
Which was captured on courtroom cameras. Bryant faced nearly 30 years in prison, but Lucci first believed the defendant had shown remorse. However, after Bryant's outburst, the judge changed his mind and added 6 years to his prison sentence.
So it's 11 years on count 1 and 11 years on count 3.
Number 8. Ryan Stone. Prosecutors said a Colorado man guilty of carjacking 3 automobiles, including one with a 4-year-old boy inside, was sentenced to 160 years in prison on Friday for the high-speed chase witnessed on live TV. Ryan Stone was found guilty of 11 felonies, including attempted manslaughter and first-degree assault for injuries sustained by a police officer who attempted to stop him, according to a statement from the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. Stone expressed regret before Douglas County District Court Judge Paul King for the March 2014 criminal spree that spanned 5 counties, covered 75 miles, and was live-streamed by a Denver television station's helicopter. Stone blamed the trooper for the trooper's own injuries, which included a shattered leg, in phone calls made from jail and disclosed by prosecutors. In one call, he informed his mother that the quote's dumbass was standing in the center of the highway. In another call, Stone brags to a female companion about the international attention his case has received. He further joked that his lawyer informed him that he had made headlines in the United Kingdom and Australia.
My lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia.
According to the District Attorney's Office, Stone will not be eligible for parole until 2085. Number 7. Michael Marin. That appears to be the case. Officials suspected cyanide poisoning at the time, and they stated that the medical examiner's examinations had concluded that the fatal material was present in his body when he died. Marin, a former Wall Street trader, faced up to 16 years in prison for torching his $3.5 million Phoenix area home in 2009. His crumbling financial status and the evidence from the fire scene persuaded the jury that he intentionally set 4 fires in the 10,000 square foot estate to avoid making mortgage payments. He later fled the flames by scaling a rope ladder while wearing dive gear to prevent dying from smoke inhalation. When one of his 4 grown children received a delayed email indicating the whereabouts of his vehicle, support for the suicide scenario rose. That son notified the authorities. Following the recovery of the vehicle, the investigators discovered a little silver canister of sodium cyanide powder in the vehicle's rear baggage. Number 6. Diana Lovejoy. This woman fainted in a California courtroom after learning she had been found guilty in a bungled murder-for-hire plan targeting her husband, who was shot but survived. Diana Lovejoy and her gun instructor, Weldon McDavid Jr., were convicted separately of conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. When Lovejoy passed out and fell, there were gasps, and her family members wailed and begged for help. The courtroom was emptied by Judge Sim von Kalinowski so that the 45-year-old might obtain medical attention. Lovejoy appeared to be struck by shock, according to a TV reporter who responded to her before paramedics took her out on a gurney. When the trial continued, the same jury returned guilty verdicts against McDavid. As his family looked on, the 50-year-old buried his face in his hands and wailed. Lovejoy of Carlsbad faces a minimum sentence of 25 years to life in prison. McDavid, the shooter, faces 50 years in prison. The sentencing date was set for December 12, 2017. Number 5. Andrea Cook. Andrea Cook did not cry, and her mother did not sob in court when she was sentenced to 11 years in jail for a pair of carjackings. She didn't need to be dragged from the courtroom once more by bailiffs as her face contorted in pain. Cook was well aware of what was to come. Unlike the previous year when her former defense attorney informed her that she would not be going to prison, Circuit Judge Matt Foxman sentenced her to 20 years in prison. In addition to the 11 years, Foxman ordered Cook to spend 20 years of probation, which will run concurrently with her jail term, so she will be on probation even while inside. In June 2017, a video of Cook's first sentencing went viral on social media, gaining millions of views. The footage shows her mother wailing in the background of the courtroom after learning of Cook's first 20-year sentence. Cook then collapsed and had to be removed from the courtroom after passing out. Foxman granted Cook's request to withdraw her initial plea and overturn the sentence, citing a misunderstanding between Cook and Assistant Public Defender Frank Scott. Number 4. Joshua Tremaine Jones. Joshua T. Jones had a long history of mental illness, family problems, and criminal charges prior to the day he murdered an Aiken public safety officer. He was eventually charged with the murder of his girlfriend, with whom he shared an apartment in Augusta. Jones's familial history of schizophrenia, as well as his traumatic childhood and adolescence, are documented in court through a psychiatric diagnosis and extensive family and societal chronologies. Jones was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of release on February 3rd, after pleading guilty but mentally ill in the death of Aiken Public Safety Master Corporal Sandy Rogers in 2012. Jones was diagnosed with schizophrenia by court psychiatrist Donna Schwartz-Watts. Joshua's father, James, was also present and acknowledged that his son would be viewed as a monster by the public. He called his son's actions the work of Satan. James Jones stated that his kid may plead insanity. He claims that his son has a medical ailment for which they have sought treatment. Jones claims Joshua was being treated at Aurora Pavilion Behavioral Health Services before being discharged to his care. And with that, it's now time for today's best pick. We'll be meeting a young teen that was said to have committed arson, but was that really the case? Find out more about it next. Number 3. Jacob Morgan. A 17-year-old autistic kid who murdered his toddler half-brother after setting fire to his home sobbed openly in court as he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Jacob Matthew Morgan sobbed as he admitted to lighting the fire that killed the 14-month-old Joshua Hill in March 2015. Deputy Counsel Willie Thompson stated at a prior hearing that Morgan stood outside the burning house, did not ask for help, and did not save his younger brother, all of which demonstrated malice. Morgan's parents, however, claim that he was urged to remain away from the fire by his neighbors who held him back when he attempted to return inside to save his sibling. They also claim that Morgan, who has developmental difficulties and struggles to read and write, confessed to lighting the fire under pressure following a 5-hour questioning that was not recorded. According to fire specialists, evidence suggests that 2 fires were lit, one in the living room and the other on a blanket in Joshua's master bedroom. Morgan sobbed and slumped on the floor during a preliminary hearing in 2015 as prosecutors described the trailer park fire that killed Joshua. In court, the youngster sobbed once more as he pled guilty to involuntary homicide, criminal conduct towards a child, and third-degree arson. On the arson accusation, he entered the Alford plea, which means he accepted punishment but denied responsibility. Number 2. Danta Wright. A courtroom in Washtenaw County, Michigan witnessed a surprising incident. As Jordan Clee's family members read impact statements in front of the court, the youngster who admitted to killing the 18-year-old Ann Arbor resident smiled and almost laughed. Following that, the defendant, Danta Wright, 17, addressed the court, saying that he just wanted to let everyone know that he will be home soon and that he loves his family.
Tell y'all I'll be home soon, R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.
The court was not pleased with Wright's demeanor and asked the prosecutors if the sentencing deal was too light. During a brief recess, the family reportedly requested that the case not go to trial in order to move forward. After the break, Wright's lawyer apologized on his behalf, stating the adolescent had mental disorders and that some individuals show fear by smiling. Wright was sentenced to 23 to 50 years in jail for Clee's murder. Wright testified during a court session in June that he and 2 other companions were attempting to rob Jordan Clee, 18, when he shot and murdered him last October 2016. The other 2 individuals indicted in this case have likewise pleaded guilty to their respective roles.
He has some emotional problems and frankly was scared. And some people display fear by smiling.
Number 1. James Wasson. When a judge rejected a plea offer and sentenced him to 35 years in Montana State Prison, several armed cops had to pull the defendant to his courtroom chair twice and then pin him there. He lost it, however, just seconds after Kruger suggested he would impose heavier punishments than prosecutors had recommended. Wasson stood peering over court papers held by his public counsel while Kruger imposed sentencing on each of the multiple offenses. Wasson turned in disgust and attempted to flee when Kruger announced the sentences would run consecutively. Wasson was placed in his seat by a couple of officers, but he quickly leapt up and attempted to flee again. As he kicked, wiggled, and cursed, other police joined in and wrestled him back to his seat. Kruger took a brief pause before delivering sentencing in yet another case, forcing Wasson to wait and listen. See you all next time.